A very good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whatever place it is you have tuned on to the Life Signatures Radio. This is a daily show on the subjects of purpose, productivity, and resilience. It is a teaching podcast. If you're looking for entertainment and if you're looking for all those things that are going to make you feel good, probably this is not the show, but this is a teaching podcast on those three subjects of purpose, productivity, and resilience. In other words, if you are looking to hear on an inspirational, instructional, motivational message that is going to help you to think about your purpose, to think about your existence in terms of your productivity, and to encourage you to be resilient in the direction that your life is supposed to take, this is the show. We are in the middle of a series. We're talking about reputation, and we are looking at how we can be able to recover a wrecked reputation. We started that a couple of days ago. Let us continue doing the same today. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So some years back, when there was the World Cup, football World Cup going on, we saw a famous something that happened where this famous player in the name of Cristiano Ronaldo was to do a press conference. And of course, there were sponsors of that particular tournament, and one of those sponsors were a soft drink. I think it was Coca-Cola or Pepsi, one of those guys. And so they needed to display their brands and quote unquote their reputation in front of everybody as Cristiano was doing his interview or his press conference. And so they set up the bottles of their products in front of Ronaldo, as in when he comes to sit, you will just see them. You see Ronaldo and then you see their bottles there and their brand there. So Cristiano comes in and he goes and sits, and then kind of rudely, or I don't know, strongly pushes aside all these soft drinks and then lifts up a bottle of water and says, Aqua. Says, you should basically be drinking water more than you drinking these things. So at the most interesting thing is that we are told that particular day, the following day, the stocks of that particular soft drink went down just by one person doing that particular act. Now, you cannot blame the soft drink for anything. I mean, you can't blame them. I don't want to go into the technicalities there. There's nothing quote unquote wrong that they did other than display their products. But needless to say, their reputation was on hand, at stake. Their reputation was at stake at that particular moment in time, and they lost a bit of credibility, a bit of value, a bit of their stocks, because their stocks value because of that. That goes to tell us the extent to which a spoiled or a wrecked reputation can affect you, can affect a brand. But we're talking about personalities, we're talking about you and I. In the same way that affected that particular organization is the same way that it can affect you. And we're just using that example of Cristiano. We said over the past episodes that you can wreck your reputation yourself. or someone else can wreck your reputation, or just market forces can wreck your reputation, whatever it is. Either way, whichever the case, we've got to rise up and mend that wrecked reputation one or another. We've been talking about this. The first thing we say that you're supposed to acknowledge that this is wrong. Acknowledge the fall. And under acknowledgement, we've said that you've got to take ownership. If you contributed to the downfall, take ownership. And by the way, even if you did not contribute, ultimately you take ownership. Say, this is bad. We are here. The buck stops with us. The buck stops with me. And secondly, we said yesterday you're supposed to commit to make it right at whatever cost. Especially if you contributed to that. Especially if it is you. I remember watching a movie some years back, a lot of years back, where a grandparent or maybe a parent was teaching his child what to do whenever they have done something wrong against another human being. Said you've got to apologize to them and you've got to buy them an expensive gift that costs you something, that tells you that you have committed and you felt really sorry. You've committed to change and you're sorry for what you've done, but you're committed to change. Those are the two things we've discussed so far. The third one now I want to close under this bracket of acknowledgement of the fall. The third one is make a plan. Make a plan to make it right. If your reputation has been wrecked, let me tell you, you cannot let it to bubble like a boat on seawater that doesn't have a coxswain, doesn't have a driver, doesn't have any direction, doesn't have an anchor. I mean, you'll end up going just about anywhere. If you really care about your reputation, you've got to make a plan. As in, draw a plan and say, I know, I really did mess up. If you are Tiger Woods and you are in drugs, maybe you've been caught up in drugs and so on, make a plan by going into a rehab. Go to a rehabilitation center. And let me say this. Some of these things that we've got to do are not necessarily in the eyes of the public. I know we love playing PR, but you cannot do some of this personal, moral stuff in public. It's a personal thing that you do. You make a plan at an individual level. Of course, you've got to make a plan at the public level to show people that, if at all whatever happened publicly that wrecked your reputation, you've got to make it public also to show people that these are the steps that I have taken. But you cannot do that if you do not have a plan. It's mostly good for you to make a plan, but it is not good for you not to make a plan. And it's good for you and not for the public. You don't do this for the public primarily. If you really have wrecked up yourself, heal yourself first for you, not for the public, not for the cameras. Let me tell you, these cameras that you see, these eyeballs that people fight for, they are so fickle. They have a narrative that they want to generate. They can be having rankings. They have TV rankings and all that stuff. And even if on social media they have followership and eyeballs. People are fighting. The biggest fight these days is the fight for eyeballs. And you cannot fight for eyeballs. I know it's a reputation thing, but you cannot fight for eyeballs. Especially if you have a wrecked reputation. That should not be the primary reason you're doing this. The primary reason you're doing this is to make yourself right. So that when you look in the mirror, Michael Jackson told us, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. When you look at the mirror, you are able to smile. A friend of mine has written a book called Smile in the Mirror. It's a book basically dedicated to women and their personalities and their identity. Very powerful book. And when you look in the mirror, you can't help but unleash a smile. Why? Because you've worked on your reputation primarily. But when you do work for the eyeballs and for the public and for the cameras and for the microphones, you're going to look at the mirror and you don't see the guy. You don't like the guy that's looking back at you. If the public knew your plans of making it right, so be it. However, the plan is for your benefit. Why? Because without such a plan, chances are that once things quote unquote normalize and the pressures of the moment of the loss of the reputation are gone, it's easy to forget about it. See, the need to maintain a crisis management over the loss of a reputation is absolutely critical. This is what we've got to do, and we've got to make a plan for it to work. That's why a plan is very essential. A plan for recovery is very essential. Very, very necessary. If we are to get back on track, we've got to make a plan and work the plan. Tomorrow we're going to look at one more way in which we can recover our dented reputation, our ruined reputation, our spoiled reputation. We're going to look at one more thing that we can be able to do for that. Remember, we're going for 7. This is just the first one. The first one is what? Acknowledgement. Without acknowledgement, my friend, I'm telling you, you haven't even started. So tomorrow, let's go deeper into it. Stay tuned and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.